A 3-year-old girl found alone in a dark parking lot. What she told the officer, it broke his heart. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. It was just another quiet evening shift for Officer Jason Daniels, cruising through the familiar lanes of a local shopping mall. The parking lot, dimly lit and almost deserted, held a stillness that only deepened with the fading light of day. But as Jason turned the corner near the rear exit, his headlights illuminated a small, fragile figure, sitting all alone, a 3-year-old girl, alone, in a parking lot. Jason's heart skipped a beat. He immediately stopped the car and stepped out, cautiously approaching her. She looked up with wide, glassy eyes, her small frame dwarfed by the empty expanse around her, and then she said something that froze him in his tracks. "My mommy doesn't want me anymore." Jason's breath caught in his throat. It wasn't just the words, it was the quiet certainty in her voice. Her cheeks were tear-streaked, her hair tangled, her tiny hands covered in dirt. For a moment, all his training melted away, replaced by the raw human instinct to protect. No, he thought. This has to be a misunderstanding. Surely a child that young didn't understand what she was saying. Her parents were probably just a few stores away. Maybe she got separated. Maybe she wandered off. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked gently, kneeling beside her. She hesitated before answering in a tiny voice. "Ella." "That's a beautiful name, Ella." Jason smiled, trying to make her feel safe. "My name is Jason. I'm going to help you, okay?" Ella gave a small nod. Jason reached for his radio and called for assistance, then took Ella by the hand. "Let's go find your mommy and daddy. They're probably looking everywhere for you." But Ella's expression darkened again. "No, mommy doesn't want me," she repeated, this time with more weight in her voice. Jason felt a chill crawl down his spine. He didn't press her further. Not yet. Instead, he brought her into the mall, taking her to the security control room. The staff there quickly made a lost child announcement over the loudspeaker. "A young girl named Ella has been found near the parking lot. Please report to the information center immediately if you're her guardian." They waited. Minutes passed. The announcement was repeated. Still, nothing. No one came. Jason glanced down at Ella, who sat quietly beside him, legs swinging off the chair. Her face fell a little more with each passing minute. "They're not coming," she whispered. Jason exchanged a concerned look with the female security officer. They ran through the mall's security footage. The timestamp showed a car pulling into the parking lot. Then it simply left Ella behind. No one else got out. No one returned. The car had vanished like a ghost. Jason jotted down the license plate and ran it through the system. Nothing. No registration, no record. It was as if the vehicle had never existed. Trying to lift her spirits, Jason suggested a game. "Let's look for yellow cars," he said with a grin. "First one to see one wins." Ella gave a soft giggle and nodded. It was enough to bring her outside again, back to the parking lot. But the space was nearly empty now, and the only thing more absent than the cars was any sign of her family. Jason didn't have the heart to press her with more questions. Instead, he gently said, "How about we go look somewhere else together?" Ella nodded again. As they drove to the station, Jason began to notice other signs. Her disheveled appearance, dirty clothes, the weariness in her eyes, far beyond her years. Something was definitely wrong. At the station, his colleague Michelle met them outside. A mother herself, Michelle instinctively stepped in, bringing Ella a few stuffed animals from her daughter's office collection. Ella's eyes lit up when she saw the plush toys, and she eagerly ran to them, clutching a soft teddy bear. While Michelle comforted Ella, Jason dove into the databases. Missing children reports, abduction alerts, recent custody cases, but nothing matched. Michelle returned later, her expression grim. "She's been on the street," she said softly. "I'm sure of it. The way she reacts when I mention her mom, she flinches. And she won't say anything about her father." Jason clenched his jaw. The idea that someone could abandon a child like this, it made his blood boil. He turned back to the mall footage, replaying it again and again. There, he saw the mystery car pull in. It paused briefly, and then Ella stepped out. The car never turned off. A moment later, it pulled away. No license plate, no identifying marks, just an empty seat where a mother or father should have been. Jason took Ella's photo and hit the streets, storefronts, coffee shops, even late-night diners. Most people hadn't seen her. Some had. One cafe owner said she wandered past occasionally, always alone, always at night. She didn't look scared, he said, but she looked forgotten. Jason returned to the station haunted by the words, forgotten, a child no one noticed, no one claimed. But Ella was starting to open up. During a quiet moment at the station, she softly murmured, "There was a blue door." Jason looked at her. "What blue door?" "A big house with blue doors," she said, her fingers gripping her teddy bear. It wasn't much, but it was something. Jason followed the lead like a bloodhound. Block after block, neighborhood after neighborhood. He searched for hours until he found it. A rundown house with 2 faded blue doors tucked into a forgotten corner of the city. The place was abandoned, windows boarded up, overgrown weeds choking the path, the mailbox stuffed with unopened letters. Inside, the air was stale. Layers of dust coated the furniture. Toys lay scattered on the floor, frozen in mid-play as if a child had vanished mid-laugh. Jason stepped carefully through each room, feeling the weight of the silence. In a far corner behind a forgotten curtain, he found a box of photographs. Ella, barely older than a toddler, was pictured with a woman and a man, smiling, happy, normal. But something had gone terribly wrong since those pictures were taken. Clothes were still scattered across beds. A mug of dried coffee sat on a table. It looked like they'd left in a hurry or run. Jason's gut twisted. In a hidden drawer, he found letters, frantic scribbles from Ella's mother, expressing fear, desperation, and a growing paranoia. "I'm sick. I can't take care of her alone. He's dangerous. They'll come for her." The trail was darker than Jason imagined, but the mystery was far from over. Jason stepped out of the abandoned house, heart heavy with the weight of what he had just uncovered. The letters spoke volumes of a mother trapped in fear, isolated and slowly deteriorating both physically and emotionally. Her words revealed a story of someone fighting to keep her daughter safe, but losing the battle. Back at the station, Ella had become more at ease. Her laughter, while still rare, occasionally rang out when Michelle brought her puzzles or let her help with feeding the station's goldfish. Yet behind her tiny smiles, Jason could still see the shadows. A child should never have to carry such invisible weight. He went through every document he'd found, organizing the letters, old bills and photographs, hoping they would point to someone, anyone, who could help fill in the blanks. It wasn't long before he noticed an address on one of the older envelopes tied to a local women's shelter. His eyes narrowed. The shelter. It was a lead worth pursuing. Jason made his way there the next morning. The director, a kind middle-aged woman named Maria, welcomed him with cautious sympathy. When he showed Ella's photo, her face fell. "I remember her mother," she said. "Alicia. She stayed here for about a month, right before she vanished. She was scared all the time. Said someone was following her." Jason leaned in. "Did she ever mention Ella's father?" Maria hesitated. "Only that he was dangerous. She never told us his name, but she had bruises, officer. She was running from something, or someone." The pieces were beginning to fit. Alicia hadn't abandoned her daughter out of cruelty. She had done it out of desperation. Perhaps, in her mind, leaving Ella in a public place was her only chance at saving her. Maria continued, her voice shaking. "Alicia got very sick during her time here. She didn't have money for treatment. She tried, though. She asked us to find someone who could take care of Ella if something happened to her. But before we could help, she disappeared." Jason felt a tightness in his chest. The story had gone from mysterious to heartbreaking. "Do you know what happened to her?" he asked. Maria nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "We received word from the hospital. She passed away 2 weeks ago, alone." The silence that followed was suffocating. Jason returned to the station feeling hollow. How could a woman die like that, unnoticed, unclaimed, while her daughter sat a few miles away, waiting to be wanted? He sat across from Ella, who was building a tower with her colorful blocks. "Hey, Ella," he said softly. "Do you remember your mommy's hugs?" She paused, then nodded. "She used to sing when I was scared." Jason had to turn away for a second, blinking fast. In the days that followed, Jason found himself thinking about Ella constantly. He'd worked tough cases, seen the worst of what people could do, but nothing hit him like this. He found himself checking in on her, bringing her small gifts, helping her settle into the temporary care home they had arranged. But it wasn't enough. The paperwork began. Foster care evaluations, guardian assessments, background checks. Jason wasn't just filling in the blanks anymore. He was taking a leap of faith. He wanted to adopt her. Michelle was the first to know. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," he replied. It wasn't easy. The system was complicated, cautious, slow, but Jason was determined. He'd seen enough kids fall through the cracks to know he wouldn't let that happen to Ella. Then, another twist. Through one of the documents recovered from the abandoned house, Jason found a lead, a surname tied to Alicia's parents, Ella's maternal grandparents. It took some digging, a few awkward phone calls, and a long drive out of town. But eventually, he found them. An older couple, grieving and confused, had been searching for Alicia and Ella for years. They hadn't known where their daughter had gone. Alicia had cut ties during the worst parts of her relationship, trying to protect them as well. But now, hearing what had happened, they were devastated and desperate to meet the granddaughter they'd never known. The meeting between Ella and her grandparents was emotional. She clung to Jason at first, afraid of the unfamiliar faces. But when her grandmother pulled out a small music box, the same song Alicia used to sing, Ella's eyes widened. She whispered, "Mommy's song." That was the moment the wall began to break. Tears flowed freely. Her grandfather held her hand, his voice trembling. "We've waited so long for you." Jason watched from the side, heart aching and full at the same time. He knew what this meant. Ella had a family, a real one, and he couldn't take that from her, not even if his heart was telling him he didn't want to let go. The court process was swift after that. Jason helped facilitate the guardianship transfer to her grandparents. He promised he'd visit, and Ella, now surrounded by warmth and familiar lullabies, seemed to finally begin healing. But something unexpected happened just days after Ella moved in with them. Jason received a letter. It was handwritten, clearly by a child, in big, blocky letters. "Dear Officer Jason, thank you for not leaving me. Thank you for finding me. I miss you already. Love, Ella." Jason sat in his car for a long time after reading it, the letter clutched in his hands. Sometimes being a cop meant chasing criminals, solving mysteries, restoring order. But sometimes it meant stepping into a storm of someone else's life and choosing not to walk away. Jason didn't walk away. He still visits Ella once a month. She's in school now. She smiles more, laughs louder. She even calls him Uncle Jason. And in his wallet, folded carefully behind his badge, he still carries that letter. Because for all the cases he's worked, Ella was the one that changed everything.